Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward. It's currently free, but in the future I'll add a small monthly fee to support the channel. Comment or message me what price feels fair for you. Let's make it comfortable for both sides.
Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward. It's currently free, but in the future I'll add a small monthly fee to support the channel. Comment or message me what price feels fair for you. Let's make it comfortable for both sides. Patreon link in description.
Chapter 1. The Ninja Academy has 6 academic years, each starting in April and ending in March of the following year. The curriculum is divided into 3 semesters, the first semester, which runs from early April to mid-July, the second semester, which runs from early September to late December, and the third semester, which runs from early January to the end of March. The age limit for enrollment in ninja academies during this era was 5 to 6 years old. In the 28th year of Konoha, Nawaki, the younger brother of the princess of the Land of Fire and the grandson of the first Hokage, entered the ninja academy founded by the second Hokage. The true heir officially enrolled. July 18th, Konoha year 30. Today is the last day of the first semester for all students at the Ninja Academy. Students in grades 3 through 6 who have already received the second and third stages of training begin taking final exams for academic subjects, practical training, and the 3-body technique during the day. In contrast, the students in the first and second years, who still use pebbles instead of shuriken, are currently the most qualified, and the only assessment where they might get injured is a physical combat duel. This assessment was also placed last. In the afternoon, on the school playground, in the area designated for Class 1, Grade 1. Male and female students, some standing and some sitting, formed a circle and watched a battle that was considered extremely intense for their age group. In the center of the circle, 2 little boys with different hair colors are showing off their talents. While his peers, and even older students, were still only using physical strength to deal damage. They not only utilize chakra to integrate speed into combat, but also rely on their precocious mental fortitude to predict their opponent's next move with their eyes and brain, either to dodge or to lure them into an attack. This visual feast, a sight rarely seen even by upperclassmen, left not only the students speechless, but also the Chunin teacher serving as the referee, who was visibly shocked. When he was young, he didn't understand why he wasn't as good as those geniuses. Now, as a mature observer, he realizes just how different he was from those geniuses during his student days. These 2 little boys in front of me are undoubtedly geniuses who have already left their peers far behind. Moreover, unlike other battles, which often end quickly due to unbearable pain or overwhelming strength, this one is different. The fight between the 2 boys lasted for quite a long time. It wasn't until the blonde boy became exhausted, with his reaction time and speed severely reduced, that the white-haired boy, who was in slightly better condition, gained the upper hand and created an opportunity. He sidestepped the boy's straight punch, then seized the opportunity to grab his arm and throw him to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw, ultimately subduing him using grappling techniques. Seeing this, the Chunin instructor immediately announced the result: the battle is over. The winner is Gojo Yoru. He forms the seal of reconciliation. As the teacher's voice faded, the students, who had been staring blankly with wide eyes, finally came to their senses. Then the scene erupted in uproar. Wow, that's amazing! Is this Minato and Gojo's true strength? They've been hiding their power all along. It seems it's not that they're hiding their strength, but rather that we haven't let them go all out. If they hadn't been matched up this time, we wouldn't have known they were so powerful. It's a pity about Minato. If he hadn't developed as well as Gojo, he might have won in the end. Hey, keep your voice down. Don't stand next to me. I don't want to be targeted by that guy Gojo. Oh no, did he hear that? Minato-kun and Yoru-kun are both so handsome, I didn't know who to support just now. Yejun is still better. His cold demeanor is so cool, and he's strong too. He beat up an upperclassman as soon as he entered school. He makes me feel so safe. I think Minato is easier to get along with. Amidst the students' discussion, the two little boys, who were half a head apart in height, completed the reconciliation seal. Thank you for your guidance, Yoru-kun. Your strength is truly impressive, Minato Namikaze said sincerely with a gentle smile. You're not bad either. Looking at Minato Namikaze, whose face was bruised, and Yoru Gojo, who was also bruised, a complex look flashed in his eyes. Instead of feeling the joy of victory, I was filled with pressure. Because only he knew that he was not a genius at all. Both being superhuman beings from another world with 130 trillion cells, no one knew that Gojo Yoru's body actually housed the soul of an adult in their 20s. What's there to be happy about when an adult takes so long to narrowly defeat a real 6-year-old? On the contrary, this battle allowed Gojo Yoru to witness the potential of the most perfect ninja, with that terrifying reaction ability. No wonder he was able to become the second person in Konoha to master the Flying Thunder God technique. This is only the first semester. At this rate, won't I be left behind very soon? Thinking of this, Gojo Yoru's mood sank again. On the surface, he returned to his seat with a blank expression. Because of her aloof and school bully personas, neither the boys nor the girls dared to approach and bother Gojo. This scene contrasts sharply with Minato Namikaze, who, upon returning to his group, was immediately surrounded and comforted by his male and female classmates. Exams continued, and as one physical combat match after another came to an end, the first semester came to a complete close. After the teacher announced the holiday, Gojo was the first to leave school and go home. Gojo Yoru's house is a 3-story villa with a small yard, located in the center of Konoha. In terms of both location and value, it is second only to those ninja clans. This shows that Gojo Yoru's family was very well off. After changing her shoes in the entryway, Gojo Yoru walked through the living room straight to the bathroom, passing a shrine with 2 portraits of the deceased on the way. Warm water sprayed from the small holes of the shower head, creating a misty steam in the bathroom. Gojo Yoru tilted her head back to endure the impact of the water, combing her white hair back with both hands, and the white eyebrows that had been furrowed all the way finally relaxed. Standing under the shower head, lost in thought, Gojo Yoru didn't open his eyes for a long time. Those were blue eyes, just like Minato Namikaze's. Unlike Minato Namikaze's azure blue, Yoru Gojo's is an icy blue with a hint of white, which, combined with his expressionless face, gives off a very cold feeling. After a quick rinse, Gojo Yoru emerged wearing a bathrobe. Standing in front of the mirror, drying her hair, Gojo Yoru looked at the little boy in the mirror and couldn't help but laugh at herself in her hometown dialect. Het. We have the same surname, and our hair and eye colors are very similar. Why don't I have such an awesome cheat? If I could have invincible strength and live a carefree life for decades, even if my body is broken in 2 in the future, it would be worth it. After drying her hair, Gojo Yoru glanced at the time. Instead of making dinner to fill her rumbling stomach, she went to the storage room on the first floor, lifted an inconspicuous tatami mat, and went into the basement hidden underneath. As the kerosene lamp lit up, the scene in the basement came into view. It was a small room with walls covered in tadpole-shaped incantations, 2 rows of bookshelves filled with scrolls and books, and several boxes. Below these items were labels categorizing them into ninja scrolls, secrets from the Warring States period, various ninja tools and pills, and a large amount of gold and silver treasures. This should be the foundation of the Gojo family, and the legacy left to Gojo Yoru by his parents. It is also Gojo Yoru's greatest reliance at present. Chapter 2. Gojo Yoru, 6 years old this year, is a time traveler. His sudden death turned him from a 25-year-old adult into a newborn baby. Thanks to the Japanese language courses she took in high school and the part-time job she did in a translation group during college, Gojo Yoru knew what kind of world she had come into as soon as she was born. It's not some strange other world, but a two-dimensional world where the entire universe speaks Japanese, and it's Naruto, one of the 3 major shonen manga. Upon learning that she had been transported to the Naruto world and into a family without any bloodline limits, Gojo Yoru felt as if the sky had fallen. It's important to know that the 3 major shonen manga, also known as the 3 major bloodline manga, all feature protagonists who start out as ordinary people and then end up as the world's favorites. Can you believe that the Paramecia-type gum fruit, which has been around for over 1,000 chapters, has suddenly become the Zoan-type human fruit, mythical Zoan, Nikakatsu fruit? Before the gum fruit was transformed into the Nika fruit, Naruto was the most criticized bloodline-themed manga. This world is one where bloodline reigns supreme. The entire story revolves around the cruel world of infighting within the Otsutsuki clan. Even the most talented ninjas, like the 2nd Tsuchikage Mu and the 3rd Raikage, are at the pinnacle of the 5 Kage. Only by establishing a connection with the Otsutsuki clan, or becoming the Nine Tails Jinchuriki and gaining the complete approval of the Nine Tails, can one hope to become a Kage-level powerhouse. Becoming a commoner without a bloodline limit was already a disastrous start. When he was 3 years old, his father, an all-around jonin, his mother, a special jonin, and his parents' comrades all died in a large-scale mission, which made Gojo Yoru's vision go black. My backing and connections are all gone. Logically speaking, this kind of jinxed start should be the treatment of the protagonist. However, even now, after his parents' sacrifice, Gojo has not discovered his cheat ability. If there wasn't even a sliver of hope for a comeback, Gojo Yoru would have wanted to end his own life to see if he could time travel again. Opening a locked box, Gojo Yoru retrieved a small, red scroll from beneath the box full of scrolls. Input chakra into the seal of the scroll, and the seal characters on it immediately and slowly disappear, then pull it open to reveal a blank scroll. Gojo Yoru bit his thumb, smearing the blood on the scroll, then formed a hand seal, pressed his palms against the scroll, and softly uttered, "Release." With a loud bang, white smoke filled the dimly lit basement. When the white smoke dissipated, the blood on the scroll had disappeared, and what remained were several stacked diaries and a box of pens. As usual, Gojo sat cross-legged in front of the scroll and picked up the top diary to open it. The memo is entirely composed of Pinyin and Cantonese. Even if Japanese, English, and Hyuxia characters exist in this world, no one can decipher it unless they access the memories inside Gojo's brain. Gojo quickly flipped through the diary, trying to strengthen his memory and avoid losing the greatest advantage of being a time traveler. Main plot summary, personalities and experiences of important characters, complete list of Akatsuki members, a vague chronology, speculation on the years in which the flashback scenes take place. As she finished reading through each diary, Gojo Yoru picked up the last one, while simultaneously taking a pencil from her pencil case with her other hand. He was still flipping through the notes, but this time he was reading very slowly, his eyes were deep, as if he was thinking or organizing something. The title of the first page of this diary is strikingly similar, on the possibility of defying fate. The following content is a game strategy that Gojo Yoru specially created for himself, taking advantage of his familiarity with the plot and the characters in the original work. Shortcuts to gaining status and resources. The balance between the Sharingan and Hashirama cells guarantees the survival of the wood release test subject. Will becoming a Jinchuriki and shaping the identity of the child of prophecy win the favor of the nine-tailed beasts? The perfect opportunity to seize the Rinnegan. Whenever a flash of inspiration strikes, Gojo Yoru will refine or revise this guide, and this time is no exception. So, during the process of reading, Wu Taiao would occasionally erase the pinyin and text on the pages and rewrite new content. When the page was blank, Gojo Yoru repeatedly wrote and erased new guides. After revising it many times until she couldn't think of anything better, Gojo Yoru closed the diary, put the pencil back in the pencil case, and then stored both of them in the storage scroll. When I came out of the basement, it was already night. The clock on the living room wall showed 7:52 p.m. Instead of simply filling her already hungry stomach, Gojo took out some ingredients from the refrigerator and made herself a not-so-lavish but nutritious dinner. After the meal, he went for a walk to avoid his reclusive personality attracting the attention of the village. The aloof and bully personas in the school are already quite out of place, and going too far can easily backfire. After her walk, Gojo Yoru tidied up the house a bit, took a quick shower, and then went to bed. It's almost 9 o'clock now. Go to bed early and get up early, eat 3 full meals a day, and maintain a balanced diet. Having experienced sudden death before, Gojo cherishes his body very much in this life and knows how to take good care of it. This is also the main reason why he is taller and has more stamina than Minato Namikaze. The next morning at 6 o'clock sharp, the alarm clock pulled Gojo Yoru out of her sleep. After washing up and changing clothes, Gojo started his first morning run of the holiday, not returning home until 8 a.m., drenched in sweat. After cooking, taking a bath, and reading, Gojo began refining chakra. Gojo Yoru's physical abilities are among the best of his peers. Both his parents are jonin, and his talent can be considered that of a little genius, though he is far inferior to those overpowered monsters. In terms of chakra, he far surpasses that of ordinary people his age. With the inheritance left by his parents, if he hadn't died young, Gojo Yoru would definitely have become an all-around jonin, but that's about it. To become an elite jonin and a cage-level ninja, he must master at least one S-rank secret technique. In the face of a super cage-level powerhouse, the 5 cage are nothing more than slightly larger cannon fodder. In the eyes of a 6 paths level expert, they are even more inferior beings. Gojo Yoru was not satisfied with these things, so he decided to defy fate. But if you want to defy fate, you must have the ability to seize and take those opportunities. The bigger the goal, the more motivated Gojo Yoru is right now. The first semester's vacation was very long, lasting more than a month. For the next month, Gojo went to bed early and got up early every day. In the morning, she exercised, read books, and refined her chakra. In the afternoon, she practiced the basics of ninja training. In the evening, she stayed in the basement to organize strategy guides and went to bed before 9 o'clock. She was as self-disciplined as a robot installing an installation program. During this time, Gojo Yoru also celebrated his own birthday. In this life, he was born on August 18th, 24th year of Konoha. On this same day, Gojo Yoru turned 6 years old. On the same day, Gojo Yoru's body underwent a tremendous change. What's going on? As usual, I went to bed before 9 o'clock, but for some reason I couldn't fall asleep tonight. He should be able to fall asleep easily, even though he has plenty of energy and is still growing. But today, Gojo couldn't fall asleep no matter how much he tossed and turned in bed, and his mind was becoming increasingly agitated. After midnight, Gojo noticed that her body temperature had risen slightly, but she didn't have a fever. My heart was racing, as if it were being pounded like a drum. That strange yet familiar feeling made Gojo Yoru's eyes widen in disbelief. Irregular heartbeat? How is that possible? I'm so young, and I go to bed early and get up early every day. How could I have warning signs of sudden death? Chapter 3. This feeling was not unfamiliar to Gojo Yoru. Before a person dies suddenly, their body will give them warning signs. If you stay up too late, you may not be able to fall asleep at all. Instead, you may become more and more excited, have a dry mouth and throat, and experience a rise in body temperature. Even more frightening is that your heart will beat very fast, and that feeling of palpitations and chest tightness can create a fear that once you fall asleep, you may never wake up again. Gojo Yoru had felt this way many times in his previous life, but he didn't take it seriously when he was young. Now that feeling returned, Gojo Yoru couldn't help but feel a surge of fear. Without the slightest hesitation, Gojo Yoru immediately got up to drink water, but dared not drink it all at once, instead taking small sips. Once the dryness in her mouth subsided a bit, Gojo Yoru carried the water bottle back to her room, lay back down on the bed, and tried to clear her mind to allow her heartbeat to return to normal. However, no matter what she did, Gojo Yoru's heartbeat did not slow down at all. In the quiet of the night, it sounded as if someone was drumming in Gojo Yoru's room. Lifting his clothes, the pounding chest seemed to reveal a heart inside, as if it wanted to burst out of Gojo Yoru's body. Excitement, coupled with fluctuating body temperature and dry mouth, kept Gojo unable to sleep, forcing him to constantly boil and drink water. Gojo even took several cold showers, but it didn't help at all. This situation persisted until noon the following day. Not counting yesterday's half-hour nap, Gojo Yoru has been without sleep for a full 30 hours. But Gojo Yoru didn't feel uncomfortable at all. In my previous life, after such a long period of sleep deprivation, even with heightened mental energy, I could feel the tension in my brain, my eyes bloodshot, and even congested. In this life, Gojo Yoru did not experience the latter situation. Even after he calmed down, he found that he had incredibly abundant energy, like a perpetual motion machine. Clearly, it's the effect of the heart, the pumping organ, beating violently. This situation lasted for a full 7 days. Gojo also suffered from insomnia for 7 days, going nearly 200 hours without closing his eyes. During those 7 days, Gojo Yoru didn't eat anything at all, only drank a lot of water. It wasn't that he didn't want to eat, but that he simply couldn't eat. Amazingly, he did not eat for 7 days, yet his body showed no changes and he remained full of energy. Gojo Yoru's feelings gradually shifted from initial fear to excitement. If it were a sudden death, he would have been lying on his deathbed long ago after not sleeping for 7 days. But the fact that he didn't die means it wasn't a sudden death, but rather that his body was experiencing unknown changes. Perhaps, his cheat code is about to appear. Is it an unknown bloodline limit of the Gojo family that awakened in his generation? Or was it a special ability that came from his previous life and traveled with him, or even the main reason that led him to travel through time? The sudden, death-like sensation lasted until noon on August 28, Konoha year 30, before slowly disappearing. Finally over. When her heartbeat returned to normal, and the low-grade fever and dry mouth disappeared, before Gojo Yoru could finish her exclamation and check her body for any changes, everything suddenly went black, and she collapsed onto the bed, falling into a deep sleep. I don't know how long I slept, until the churning hunger from my stomach pulled me out of my deep sleep. So tired. Gojo Yoru opened her eyes, but had no desire to get up. He hasn't felt tired from not getting enough sleep in a long time. If it weren't for the ceiling and the surrounding environment reminding him, Gojo Yoru would have thought that the previous 6 years were just a long dream. Turning to the side, Gojo Yoru opened the bedside table drawer and took out a box containing 2 rows of 6 pills, the very same compressed biscuits and mana-restoring potions from the Naruto world, the soldier's rations pills. 1 pill wasn't enough, Gojo ate 3 soldier pills in total, and it was only after his body had been completely drained that he regained some strength. Getting out of bed and standing in front of a full-length mirror, Gojo took off his clothes and looked at his body in the mirror. Finding no change in his appearance, he immediately sat down cross-legged and used the method of refining chakra to see if there were any changes in his body. Thump! The sound, like the beating of drums, resounded in Gojo Yoru's ears, in his mind, and deep in his soul. At this moment, Gojo Yoru's gaze seemed to achieve internal vision, arriving at the room where the human heart is located. Inside that room, there was a black heart, thumping loudly. This scene flashed by in an instant. Gojo Yoru suddenly opened his eyes, his face filled with astonishment. If I'm not mistaken, that heart looks black? Could that be my heart? Gojo Yoru thought to himself. To confirm his hypothesis, Gojo Yoru closed his eyes again and refined his chakra. But the internal vision I saw just now never appeared again. When the physical and mental energies are about to merge, a special energy suddenly surges out from the cells and forcefully joins the fusion of the two energies. Then a wisp of black chakra, formed by the fusion of three energies, appeared in Gojo Yoru's abdomen. Black chakra, could this be my cheat code? Gojo Yoru opened his eyes again and then formed hand seals in an attempt to mobilize that wisp of black chakra. The black chakra, seemingly no different from ordinary chakra, flowed along the meridians into Gojo Yoru's right palm as he performed hand seals. It could be that the amount of chakra was insufficient, or it could be that Gojo Yoru's chakra control was not up to par, because that wisp of black chakra failed to appear outside his body. And in just a few seconds, this wisp of black chakra disappeared into Gojo Yoru's body. In that short time, Gojo Yoru couldn't find anything special about the black chakra. So, Gojo Yoru continued to refine his chakra with his eyes closed. A special energy surged forth again, mixing with physical and mental energy to form strands of black chakra. When Gojo could no longer extract physical and spiritual energy from the cells, this special energy rushed straight to the main nest and merged into the blue cyclone. Just like applying ink to white paper, some of the chakra gradually turned from blue to black. When Gojo Yoru could no longer extract special energy from his cells, 1/3 of his chakra had turned black. Let me see what effect you really have. Gojo Yoru stood up, his hands forming hand seals with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. He mobilized the black chakra within his body and began to cast the spell. Since refining her first strand of chakra at the age of 3, Gojo Yoru has now mastered the 3 body techniques taught at the Ninja Academy and has begun training in the C-Rank 5 Elements release techniques during this vacation. Since the 5 Elements escape techniques cannot be performed at home, Gojo Yoru wanted to use black chakra to perform the 3 bodies technique. The result was, absolutely nothing happened. Illusory clones cannot be created, and the body's form remains unchanged. This discovery surprised Wu Taiyao more than it surprised him. The inability to cast the spell indicates that this black chakra is different from ordinary chakra. No abnormalities were found, it's just that the special effect is well hidden. And mystery means power. Gojo Yoru swallowed another soldier's ration pill, then opened the glass door of the balcony, looked at the faintly bright sky outside, formed hand seals, and was about to transform into a blur and leap out. Suddenly, Gojo paused slightly, recalling how he had successfully channeled the black chakra to his palms. He then channeled the black chakra again to his feet, preparing to use the Konoha body flicker technique, a D-rank technique taught at the Ninja Academy. Just like when she used the 3 bodies technique, Gojo Yoru did not disappear as a shadow, but she felt as if she was stepping into thin air. Looking down, Gojo Yoru's pupils suddenly contracted sharply. All that could be seen was Gojo Yoru's feet, which seemed to be stuck in a swamp, with his calves submerged in the balcony. But Gojo Yoru's feet didn't feel any squeezing or enveloping sensation, and her body didn't continue to sink. It was as if her feet weren't sinking into the balcony, but rather merging with it. Gojo Yoru slowly lifted her leg and pulled her right foot out of the balcony. Looking at the balcony floor without a single dent, Gojo Yoru could no longer control her expression. She lowered her head, covered her face with her hands, her shoulders trembled, and let out a humming sound that was hard to tell whether it was a sob or a suppressed laugh. After a long while, Gojo Yoru lowered his hands, looked up at Konoha, which was as beautiful as a painting under the morning glow, as if he were seeing this place where he had lived for 6 years for the first time. His face was still grinning, but he couldn't help but open his arms and exclaim with a smile, "What a beautiful village, what a wonderful world!" Chapter 4 Spacetime Power, Spacetime Chakra, Spacetime Property Transformation. With just one glance, Gojo Yoru knew the special effects of black chakra. As is well known, ninja chakra has 7 attributes: wind, fire, water, earth, lightning, and yin and yang, which are the 5 elements of yin and yang in this world. Yin and yang are hidden attributes that can only be possessed innately and cannot be acquired through cultivation, unless a powerful external force modifies the body. Even the god of shinobi, Hashirama Senju, as well as Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha from the original story, could not cultivate yin-yang attributes later in life. Madara Uchiha possessed yin-yang and the 5 elements because he received Hashirama Senju's cells. Otherwise, his limit would have been the same as Sasuke Uchiha's, who could only possess yin and the 5 elements at most. The fusion of the changes in the properties of the 2 attributes is called the bloodline limit. The fusion of the 3 attributes is called bloodline elimination. This is the limit of what the ninja world knows. Gojo Yoru, however, knew that the fusion of 7 attributes constituted the bloodline limit. Those are the own people in the eyes of the Otsutsuki junkie. Without bloodline limit or all attribute Otsutsuki, they are just hybrids among hybrids, no different from those inferior creatures. There are only 7 chakra natures. This is common knowledge in the ninja world. Only a few people know that there is an 8th hidden special attribute in the ninja world. That is a power that transcends the 7 attributes, with both its lower and upper limits being extremely outrageous. Some of them are no less than bloodline limits, or are themselves a type of bloodline limit, or are even more powerful than bloodline limits. That is the power of space-time. The ability to manipulate space and time is actually quite common in the ninja world. Storage scrolls involve the principles of space and time. The art of spirit communication also involves the power of space and time. However, these are all things that can only be barely touched through contracts and seals, and cannot be used on oneself. Therefore, when the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, developed the Flying Thunder God technique, demonstrating the terror of space-time power to the entire ninja world, this ninjutsu immediately became one of the strongest S-rank secret techniques in the ninja world. To date, apart from Tobirama Senju, the developer, no one else in Konoha has mastered this S-rank secret technique. Moreover, the Flying Thunder God technique is merely a support-type space-time ninjutsu. Throughout the 1000-year Warring States period, no offensive space-time ninjutsu had ever appeared in the ninja world. Because no one can truly master the power of space-time, let alone change their chakra nature into space-time chakra, not even the pure-blooded Otsutsuki of the universe can. Their space-time abilities, like the Flying Thunder God technique and Kamui, simply consume chakra or yin-release chakra to manipulate some space-time power. Amenaminika, Yamatsu Hirasaka, Daikokyuden, these bloodline limits and divine arts are all auxiliary space-time abilities. In contrast, Kamui, who possesses neither bloodline limit nor divine arts, has a rare offensive space-time ability. Even so, offensive Kamui has a wind-up animation and requires a large amount of eye power to activate. Its abilities are fixed, and it does not convert chakra into space-time manipulation. And now, the first being to possess space-time chakra, has been born. So it's no wonder Gojo Yoru was so excited. The fact that he didn't burst into laughter was already a testament to his composure as someone who had lived 2 lives and was a transmigrator. During those 6 years, no one knew how much pressure Gojo Yoru was under. If he had been born at the beginning of the story, the same age as Naruto and Sasuke, even without a bloodline limit or cheat codes, Gojo Yoru would have accepted his fate and lived a life of mediocrity. With his familiarity with the plot, he was fully capable of avoiding any major calamity except for the infinite Tsukuyomi, which was not even a major calamity, but rather a beautiful dream. But coincidentally, the time period that Gojo Yoru traveled through was the same age as Minato Namikaze. The Second Shinobi World War could break out at any time, and the information revealed in the original work is pitifully scarce. Gojo Yoru had no idea whether Minato Namikaze's class of students had been sent to the battlefield. If you are sent to the battlefield, even if you are only in charge of logistics, there is always the possibility of enemy ninjas invading. Those ninjas who are capable, or even those who come with a mission, must be at least special jonin. Without the protagonist's halo, encountering them is a guaranteed death situation. The more a time traveler knows, the more they worry, especially when they are in a time period where they have no advantage in the plot. Gojo Yoru's pressure increases every day. Therefore, his game strategy guide already included preparations for becoming stronger by any means necessary. In order to survive, he was even willing to become an experimental subject, a composite monster similar to Kakuzu and Hirako. To lay the groundwork for his plan, he, as an adult who knew the importance of connections and networks, cultivated an aloof and domineering persona from the moment he entered school, putting on an act every day. In fact, on many nights, Gojo would wake up from nightmares. He dreamt that the plan failed right at the beginning, that his mind was read and his identity as an alien was revealed, and that he would become an even more miserable experimental subject. He dreamt that he had finally gained great power, only to be killed by a force from a higher dimension, rendering all his efforts futile. These are all invisible shackles that bind Gojo Yoru. But now, all these shackles have shattered as the black spacetime chakra appears. Originally, he could only become an all-around jonin, and even if the game strategy was perfectly implemented, he would only reach the upper limit of the pseudo six paths level. Now, this has become very vague. This is what makes spacetime special. Its lower limit is very low, even ordinary ninjas can use spacetime power to create storage scrolls. Its potential is very high, even elite jonin like Kakashi Hatake were able to injure the progenitor of chakra because he mastered offensive spacetime ninjutsu. Yoru Gojo, who possesses spacetime chakra, now has a very ambiguous strength, with his power entirely dependent on the amount and usage of his black chakra. If he can develop offensive techniques, he, who is currently only a first-year trainee ninja, will be just like those elite jonin who have mastered S-rank secret techniques, and will already have the means to threaten the cage. Even the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, who is immune to ninjutsu, will have their defenses breached if hit by him. If black chakra cannot be used for attacks, then Gojo Yoru's strength remains unchanged, just like those ninja clans who possess secret techniques and bloodline limits, they simply have special abilities. Even for the latter, Gojo Yoru was already satisfied. Because his feet had just become ethereal. Intangibility. This was Obito Uchiha's invincible, bug-level ability throughout the entire Naruto series. If Gojo Yoru can achieve complete intangibility, then no one in this era can kill him by means other than assassination, including that ninja world savior who is still alive. Now, he is a master of patience. Chapter 5. Time flies, and it's already the end of August. The second semester at the Ninja Academy is about to begin. In the past few days, Gojo Yoru has figured out exactly where the black spacetime chakra comes from and what it can be used for now. Just like Sage Chakra, which is a special energy formed by the combination of chakra and natural energy. Gojo Yoru's spacetime chakra is a product of the combination of physical energy, spiritual energy, and spacetime power. Unlike Sage Chakra, which absorbs external natural energy into the body, Yoru's cells can secrete a special spacetime power. However, Gojo discovered that only a portion of his cells could secrete spacetime energy, and the amount was limited, unlike physical energy and mental energy, which could be extracted from 130 trillion cells. Cells don't change like this for no reason. Gojo Yoru initially suspected that he had a heart problem. That black heart projected in my mind might be hiding some secret. But if there were secrets, they shouldn't have taken so long to reveal themselves, and they were only activated when he turned 6. Perhaps, it's not that there's something wrong with his heart, but rather, that there's something wrong with the soul he came into this world with. Neither of these is something that Gojo Yoru can currently investigate. Moreover, Gojo had a premonition, that feeling of impending sudden death, that might just be the beginning, and it would happen many more times in the future. After several days of experimentation, it has been found that Gojo Yoru currently possesses 2 methods for using spacetime chakra. Firstly, there's the ability to become ethereal. In fact, there's no need to manifest spacetime chakra outside the body, Gojo Yoru's body can also become ethereal. As long as he forms hand seals and mobilizes his chakra, allowing spacetime chakra to flow through his meridians, any area with black chakra can be partially rendered intangible. If it can spread throughout his entire body, he can achieve full body intangibility. Secondly, it can be used for attack, but it cannot be used to perform ninjutsu, at least Gojo Yoru cannot do that now. He discovered that space-time chakra could be used for attacks because he used a chakra blade inherited from his family to try to draw out the black chakra within his body. Then, armament haki from the One Piece world has appeared in the Naruto world. The chakra blade in Gojo Yoru's hand had turned into a black blade. Moreover, it is an indestructible black blade. Unless it contains the power of rules that can contend with space-time, even the hardest object will be split in two when it is struck by the five knights. Gojo Yoru tried it himself. He simply ran the tip of his knife lightly across the ground, and a smooth, straight cut appeared on both the brick and the soil beneath. Shuriken, kunai, iron blocks, wooden dummies, jewels, no matter how hard the object, it is as brittle as paper in front of Gojo Yoru's black sword. With each cut, Gojo's confidence would double. These two uses of space-time chakra are practically a bootleg version of the double kamui. Although Gojo Yoru needs to form hand seals to mobilize space-time chakra, it will take some time for the chakra to spread throughout his body, during which time he cannot move. Although drawing space-time chakra out of the body is extremely difficult, it can only be done with the help of a chakra blade and cannot be used to perform ninjutsu. However, Gojo has more than one way to solve these problems. Once he overcomes these limitations, he will be invincible in both offense and defense until his space-time chakra is exhausted. This goal fueled Gojo Yoru's motivation to become stronger. September 1st, Konoha year 30. As usual, Gojo got up at 6 o'clock to go for a morning run. He did not give up physical training and building a solid foundation just because he awakened powerful abilities. Obito Uchiha from the original work is the best example of the opposite. Despite inheriting Madara Uchiha's ninjutsu and the flame fan, having half his body composed of Hashirama cells, and possessing terrifying chakra reserves and eye power, he could only fight to a draw with Kakashi Hatake because he couldn't use Kamui intangibility. Unlike him, Gojo Yoru will not rely solely on space-time abilities. At least until his space-time chakra increases to the point where he can squander it at will, he will only use hollowification and the Black Blade as trump cards. Gojo Yoru didn't have X-ray vision, nor had he mastered sensory techniques. He didn't know how much chakra an ordinary genin could hold. However, in the original work, when Sasuke Uchiha used the Great Fireball technique, his chakra quantity amazed Kakashi Hatake, which shows that for an ordinary genin, having enough chakra to use a C-rank 5 elements release technique is already quite remarkable. As for Gojo Yoru, he had already begun training in C-rank 5 elements release techniques, and his chakra reserves were sufficient to unleash a C-rank ninjutsu with ease. This means that his chakra reserves have long exceeded those of an ordinary genin. This is also one of Gojo Yoru's few advantages. Perhaps it was the transmigrator's stronger soul, or perhaps it was the Gojo family's genes, or even the unknown influence within his body, but Gojo Yoru's spiritual energy was extremely powerful. Coupled with his wealth and planned investment in his body, his chakra reserves far exceeded those of his peers. In his first year, his chakra was already stronger than that of an ordinary genin. Space-time chakra accounts for 1/3 of the total chakra, and its quantity may not be less than that of an ordinary genin. Even so, this amount of space-time chakra is simply not enough. Because Gojo Yoru discovered that his cells could only extract this amount of space-time energy. Once it was used up, he could extract more, but he could not break through the existing limit. This discovery surprised Wu Taiyao more than it surprised him. You can withdraw more after you've used it up, but the quantity is locked. Isn't that an invisible bottleneck? If, before this, Gojo Yoru had doubted whether that sudden death-like feeling would ever recur, now, Gojo Yoru is 100% certain that that feeling will come again. At that time, the number of cells in his body that can extract space-time energy will increase. When all cells can extract space-time energy, ordinary chakra will be completely replaced by space-time chakra. This ability is called bloodline limit. Gojo Yoru might be able to figure out the secret hidden in his body. Therefore, Gojo Yoru called that sudden death-like feeling evolution. After finishing his morning exercise, Wu Xiao went home and took a quick shower. In front of the full-length mirror, Gojo pulled her zipper up to her chest, looked at the chubby-cheeked, adorable white-haired child in the mirror, wearing a blue jacket, white shirt and black Bermuda shorts. She tilted her head and grinned, saying, "Kawaii." However, after turning around, Gojo Yoru resumed his expressionless demeanor. With her hands in her pockets, Gojo walked out of the house and headed towards the school. As he entered the school gate, students who had witnessed Gojo Yoru's fighting prowess and heard of his fearsome reputation stopped and made way for him. Even so, Gojo Yoru did not let them go. "You piece of trash, what are you looking at?" Meeting the gazes of the students who were secretly observing him, Gojo Yoru said coldly. I'm sorry." Those icy blue eyes seemed to radiate a chilling aura, making the students tremble. They quickly apologized in trembling voices, then lowered their heads or turned away. No one dared to approach the school bully wherever he went. Chapter 6. Just like the school bullying in the previous life, the Naruto world, as a product of the anime/manga series Little Life, also suffers from severe bullying. The grandson of the emperor in his previous life was bullied, and the Naruto world is no different. People who are unconventional, have a withdrawn personality, or are handsome and academically excellent are easily bullied by classmates and upperclassmen if they don't fit in. Moreover, the common people of Konoha don't care about your identity at all. Whether you are a commoner or a member of a ninja clan, they will bully you the same way. Whether it was Kushina Uzumaki, who was protected by Mito Uzumaki and Tsunade and was closely watched by the third Hokage and the Anbu, who was destined to become the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, or Hinata Hyuga, who became the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan, the number one ninja clan in Konoha and the ninja world, after the Uchiha clan was destroyed, both of them experienced bullying at school. Moreover, their families, backers, and schools will not intervene. Similarly, when others are bullied, their families and schools do not intervene. They even condoned and encouraged bullying. In this world where manpower is scarce, even young apprentice ninjas are sent to the battlefield. Rather than die at the hands of the enemy, it's better to be bullied by one's own people until one drops out of school and goes home to live as an ordinary person. Without the courage to resist, how can one face bloodshed and assassination in the future? What kind of ninja is a piece of trash? Gojo Yoru understood this less than a week after enrolling, so he deliberately cultivated a cool and aloof persona, then clashed with an upperclassman. Using his mature mental fortitude and prior knowledge of ninja basics, he defeated an upperclassman who had advanced to the 6th grade, thus becoming famous overnight. In the eyes of the school's teachers and some others, Gojo Yoru was already a commoner genius. With both parents being jonin, high-ranking ninja, and descendants of martyrs, his future was bright. The only downside is that he doesn't fit in with others. This may be due to the trauma of losing both parents in childhood. Once this is solved, he will most likely become a pillar of the village in the future. To resolve Gojo Yoru's inner conflict, a catalyst is needed. So, was this opportunity a person or an event? Upon entering the classroom, Gojo Yoru sat down at the second table in the last row. The desks at the Ninja Academy are all for 3 people. However, Gojo Yoru was sitting alone. Of course, it wasn't that he kicked all his desk mates out, rather, after passing the entrance exam, the school had a probationary period. If a student is still unable to refine chakra during this assessment period, it means that although his physical and mental energy meet the standards, he does not possess the qualities of a ninja, and the only option is to advise him to withdraw. This situation occurs in every first grade class. 3 students from class 1 were also expelled, including 2 of Gojo Yoru's desk mates. Upon seeing Gojo Yoru enter, the previously noisy classroom immediately quieted down considerably. At least 5 of the students around didn't dare to speak loudly, only whispering among themselves. The students in the row in front of Gojo Yoru kept their heads down and didn't dare to say a word. Only the female classmates who liked Gojo Yoru's face and strength were still secretly observing him, but they didn't dare to get close to him either. That's a good thing, at least no one's bothering him. Gojo Yoru rested her chin on one hand and twirled a pen in the other, seemingly killing time, but in reality, she had already begun to think in a habitual way. After awakening his spatial abilities, Gojo Yoru never updated his game guides again, and he rarely went into the basement. With this power, which is no less than a bloodline limit, Gojo Yoru no longer needs to follow the original game strategy and turn himself into a patchwork monster. Therefore, most of the strategies for gaining power have been abandoned by Gojo Yoru. However, Gojo Yoru still retains some of the strategies. One of them is the beginning of the game guide intercepting Kushina Uzumaki. In the original story, Minato Namikaze's rise to power was due not only to his talent but also to two benefactors. One was Jiraiya, who brought him connections and the Flying Thunder God technique, the other was Kushina Uzumaki, who brought him Tsunade's support and the Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques. With the help of these two people, Minato Namikaze gained the approval of two legendary Sunin and the Hokage. After Kushina Uzumaki was able to activate the Nine Tails Chakra mode, he had the strongest people in Konoha as his backers, making him invincible to the point that even Danzo Shimura could not do anything to him. Just like some people in their past lives who married a good wife and immediately rose to great heights. As long as he can intercept Kushina Uzumaki, Gojo Yoru, as a transmigrator, is fully confident that he can soar to great heights. If he weren't talented enough, if he didn't come from a good family, or if he wasn't the same age and classmate as Minato Namikaze, Yoru Gojo wouldn't dare to have such thoughts. But after discovering that he was in the same class as Minato Namikaze, Yoru Gojo knew that this was a chance to defy fate. Therefore, he abandoned the idea of befriending his peers and becoming close friends with the ninja clan members, and instead cultivated a persona of an aloof genius. Only a bond can resolve his inner conflict. Kushina Uzumaki, whose clan had just been wiped out, was his kind, they were each other's antidote. With this setup, Gojo Yoru believed that Hiruzen Sarutobi and Mito Uzumaki behind him would never stop him from getting close to Kushina Uzumaki, unless Minato Namikaze was Hiruzen Sarutobi's biological father, and Kushina Uzumaki was sent by the latter to honor his father. In that case, Gojo Yoru would accept it. Otherwise, Kushina Uzumaki and Yoru Gojo would definitely intercept her. Gojo Yoru's current weakness is very obvious, his chakra control and the amount of spacetime chakra. As a transmigrator, he had already mastered climbing trees and wading through water. His chakra control was actually quite strong, even surpassing that of a newly graduated genin. However, even with this level of chakra control, it is still impossible to use spacetime chakra to perform ninjutsu. The fact that spacetime chakra can manifest outside the body means that it can definitely be used to perform techniques, but the difficulty is extremely high. How can I further improve my chakra control? There are several ways to do it. First, one must master the Raise Nan, an A-rank ninjutsu developed by Minato Namikaze without hand seals. It is not only a top-tier form transformation but also a very advanced form of chakra control. This is also the only ninjutsu in the original work whose complete training method is revealed. Gojo Yoru was deeply impressed by it, and after he regained his mobility, he immediately wrote down the training method. If his chakra capacity and chakra control weren't still inadequate, he would have started training long ago. Secondly, he could train in medical ninjutsu. If he could master chakra scalpels, Gojo Yoru's chakra control would not only become stronger, but his hands might even turn into black blades. The third is sealing techniques, which are the most advanced chakra control abilities. Like spacetime abilities, they have an absurdly high lower and upper limits. Sealing techniques are utterly unreasonable, even the progenitor of chakra fell victim to them. Gojo Yoru was very curious whether the yin seal could solve the problem of the spacetime chakra being locked. If possible, then Gojo Yoru would have one more trump card to save his life. This was the thought that came to Gojo Yoru immediately after he discovered that there was a bottleneck in his body. As such, Gojo Yoru became even more determined to snatch Kushina Uzumaki. Chapter 7. Hijacking Kushina Uzumaki is no easy task. An ordinary person is not worthy of the favor of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, so after gaining Kushina's favor, he still needs to show his talent and let those important figures see his value. Otherwise, all sorts of unexpected events would happen to Gojo Yoru by chance, ranging from separating him from Uzumaki Kushina to his complete disappearance. After all, the Nine Tails is the strongest tailed beast and the strongest strategic weapon in the ninja world. Konoha needs to use the shackles of bonds to bind Kushina Uzumaki to Konoha, and those shackles must be of the right quality. Minato Namikaze from the original work lives up to this value. However, Minato Namikaze only gained Kushina Uzumaki's favor after graduating, during the Cloud Ninja incident. If Gojo Yoru wants to snatch Uzumaki Kushina during his time at the Ninja Academy, then he needs to demonstrate his talent during that time. Therefore, before Kushina Uzumaki enrolled as a transfer student, Yoru Gojo had to have a certain level of strength and something that would amaze some people. So, in what year did Kushina Uzumaki join Konoha? Gojo Yoru didn't know. However, based on the information revealed by the anime TV series and observations from last semester, Gojo Yoru can roughly deduce the answer. First of all, it is certain that Kushina Uzumaki did not transfer to the school in her first or second year. The 6 or 7-year-old child was too short, with a chubby face, completely unlike the image of Kushina Uzumaki as a child. Furthermore, if Gojo Yoru remembers correctly, in the original story, a guy who was brutally beaten by Uzumaki Kushina went to his older brother, who had become a ninja, for help to get revenge, only to be defeated and beaten down by Uzumaki Kushina. If it was the same year, then the possibility of Kushina Uzumaki transferring here in her third year is very small. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be after the third grade. Whether it's the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade, I don't know. Before Kushina Uzumaki appeared, Yoru Gojo had at least 3 more years to grow. The pen twirling motion paused slightly, and a flash of inspiration seemed to pass through Gojo Yoru's mind. She closed her eyes, lost in thought. It wasn't until the school bell rang and the teacher entered the classroom that Gojo Yoru opened his eyes again and began to study diligently. In his previous life, an average adult male had about 36 trillion cells in his body, or 36 trillion. The children in this world who possess chakra have 130 trillion cells. Therefore, children in this world are excessively precocious. They understand love and romance at 5 or 6 years old, and may go to the battlefield at 7 or 8. Even in peacetime, they see blood at 12. Similarly, the knowledge they learn at this age is quite outrageous. It includes Mandarin and history, medicine, and chemistry, as well as code deciphering and more. These things shattered Gojo Yoru's arrogance last semester and were one of the reasons why he was under so much pressure. If it weren't for his transmigration and privileged background, he wouldn't have had much of an advantage in this world, having only started learning the basics of ninja at the age of 6. Therefore, Gojo Yoru dared not relax for a moment until he had the power to protect himself. Whether it's academic or practical classes, he doesn't want to lose to anyone, he wants to keep winning and always be number 1. March 20th, Konoha Year 31, afternoon. Thud. A deep, muffled thud, like hitting a sandbag, echoed across the playground in the area of Class 1, Grade 1. The crowd that had formed a circle suddenly dispersed. A figure flew out of the circle, crashed heavily to the ground, and could not get up again. Upon seeing this, Yuya, the Chunin instructor standing next to a man in a white coat, immediately announced, "The battle is over. The winner is Gojo Yoru." The medical ninja beside him, who was also the proctor for the final exams and responsible for protecting the student's safety, immediately went over to check the student's body and then used medical ninjutsu to treat him. Meanwhile, many of the students not far away still looked completely bewildered. "What? what just happened? Didn't Professor Yuya just announce the start? How come Yuzuki suddenly flew out? It's a teleportation technique. Gojo's teleportation technique is so fast. Yoru-kun has gotten stronger again. Now that he's a first-year student, I'm afraid only Minato-kun can fight him. How did this guy grow so big? Last year he was only half a head taller than us, but now he's a whole head taller. Anyone who didn't know better would think he was a 5th or 6th grader. How could we possibly beat him? It's so unfair. Tall, fast, and strong, no wonder those upperclassmen don't dare to mess with him. If I can't even see them, I might as well just admit defeat if I get matched with 5 of them in the future. The whispers were low, and both men and women were secretly glancing at Gojo Yoru, who had his hands in his pockets, with fearful eyes. A head taller than them, Gojo Yoru, expressionless, now resembled an invincible demon king, radiating a black aura. Having received treatment and now recovered, but still trembling slightly from fear, Yuzuki made a reconciliation seal with Gojo Yoru, who left the school without saying goodbye. Yuya did not stop him from doing so. If Gojo Yoru defeats Yuzuki and leaves without looking back, Yuya will surely be filled with worry and consider whether to ask the Hokage to arrange for Gojo Yoru to receive treatment from a psychologist. But after Gojo Yoru kicked Yuzuki away, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood there waiting for the outcome and only left after completing the reconciliation seal with Yuzuki. To his peers, Gojo Yoru is a ruthless demon king. In the eyes of adults like Yuya, he was just a little guy with an awkward personality who wasn't good at expressing himself. Perhaps Gojo Yoru is feeling guilty right now for not controlling his strength earlier. Today is the final exam for the 3rd semester from 1st to 5th grade. In a few days, it will be the graduation exam for 6th grade. The graduation exam for 6th graders has different questions every year, and passing it results in graduation. The final exams of the 3rd semester from 1st to 5th grade are also known as the annual exams. After this exam, the results will be posted on the bulletin board at the beginning of the new school year. At the same time, based on the comprehensive grades of the 3 semesters, 5 students who rank first in the entire grade will be selected from all classes in the 5 grades to serve as role models for all students. This role model is also known as the top student. Although the final physical skills assessment was not yet over, the students in Class 1 already knew who the top student was. There are no members of the Uchiha or Hyuga clans among this year's freshmen. Both of these powerful families control important departments and have the privilege of nurturing their own successors. The members sent to the school were either ordinary members whose talents were not even considered good enough by their clans, or descendants of high-ranking members of their clans, who were hostages specifically sent to put the Hokage and the higher UPS of Konoha at ease. Only when these descendants of high-ranking officials receive education in the Will of Fire will the high-ranking officials feel at ease. Of course, these 2 prestigious families would occasionally send a few geniuses to the Ninja Academy to make their presence known, first showcasing their talent and strength, and then quickly graduating early so that their peers could feel the gap between themselves and the prestigious families. Unfortunately, this year's class didn't have such a genius. However, in Yuya's eyes, whether it was Gojo Yoru or Namikaze Minato, apart from lacking a powerful bloodline limit, their talents were no less than those of members of powerful clans and great ninja families. Chapter 8. After leaving the school, Gojo Yoru didn't go home, but instead instantly arrived at the Nanka River. At this time, the Uchiha clan had not yet been forced to relocate to the vicinity of the Naka River, so this area was sparsely populated. Above the Nanhi River are cliffs and forests. At this moment, a black shadow was leaping among the treetops in the forest, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Moreover, unlike other ninjas' instantaneous movements, it sometimes makes a slightly piercing sound. If the chakra is not properly controlled, the feet can also shake off leaves and leave permanent footprints on the treetops. The afterimage passed through the treetops without making a sound or leaving a trace. Although the speed isn't particularly fast, this level of chakra control is something even an all-around jonin who has mastered at least 2 nature transformations would find hard to match. Without a doubt, this is a master of instantaneous movement. Bang! After leaping through the forest for a long time, the afterimage suddenly crashed into a large tree that would take several people to encircle, making a heavy thud. The person was stuck to the tree like a painting before slowly falling down. Ouch! It hurts so much. Upon landing, Gojo Yoru covered her already flushed face with both hands, gasping for breath in pain. If Gojo Yoru's classmates saw this, her image would absolutely collapse instantly. Touching his nose, which wasn't deformed from the impact, Gojo Yoru stared at the large tree in front of him and thought to himself, mobility tactics to get through walls is still too difficult. That's right. Gojo Yoru just now tried to use his spacetime abilities to pass through this tree, but he failed. This was also Gojo Yoru's first attempt. His remarkable growth during this period inevitably made him somewhat arrogant. Gojo Yoru originally thought that the evolution only allowed some of his cells to extract spacetime energy. In retrospect, it was a comprehensive transformation. 7 months have passed since I awakened my spatial abilities. During these 7 months, Gojo Yoru's body underwent tremendous changes. Firstly, regarding his height, at only 7 years old this year, he has already grown to 1.43 meters tall. This height is actually quite ordinary in the land of lightning and the hidden cloud village, where blacks and whites are everywhere. However, in Konoha and other ninja villages, he stood out from the crowd among his peers. After all, when Naruto Uzumaki graduated at the age of 12, he was only 1.47 meters tall. Just as my classmate said, if you didn't know better, you would think that Gojo Yoru was a 5th or 6th grader. The precocious development of his body also caused Gojo Yoru's chakra reserves to surge dramatically. His chakra reserves, which were already larger than those of an ordinary genin, have now probably surpassed those of an ordinary chunin. Although he can't compare to Kakashi Hatake, who could use the multiple shadow clone technique in his first year, Yoru Gojo is fully qualified to learn the shadow clone technique and the raise nan. However, with the surge in chakra, Gojo Yoru's spacetime chakra level dropped from 1/3 to only 1/5. Secondly, it's unclear whether it's a talent for spacetime or this evolution that affected Gojo Yoru's brain and nerves. In the past 6 months, Gojo Yoru has clearly noticed that his talent has also improved dramatically, and the progress is somewhat frightening. The students and teachers at the Ninja Academy all considered Gojo Yoru to be a genius. But only Gojo Yoru knew that he wasn't actually a genius. To be precise, he is completely incomparable to those geniuses who are rare, appearing only once every 10 years or even once every few decades. His early bedtime and early rising, along with ample nutrition, resulted in his chakra reserves far exceeding those of his peers. But in front of 5-year-old Kakashi Hatake, he wasn't even qualified to carry his shoes. After refining his chakra, Gojo Yoru began practicing tree climbing and water walking to improve his chakra control. He had already mastered the 3 body techniques and his strength far surpassed that of his peers, even the 6th-year students were no match for him. But Minato Namikaze, in just 1 semester, almost killed him with his terrifying reflexes. Orochimaru goes without saying, even Tsunade, the Hokage's granddaughter with the Senju bloodline, couldn't outshine him. They can't compare to these monsters without bloodline limits, let alone those geniuses with bloodlines. If Gojo Yoru hadn't awakened his space-time bloodline limit, it would have been inevitable that he would have been left far behind by Minato Namikaze once the intelligence advantage was gone. This is the difference in talent, which cannot be made up for by hard work. Only by having extraordinary abilities can one compete with and surpass it. But now, Gojo Yoru is fully qualified to bear the title of genius. Because Gojo Yoru discovered that his thinking had become more agile and his reaction speed had become stronger. Watching Minato Namikaze fight, or after being matched with him again, Gojo Yoru no longer felt particularly strained and finally experienced the advantage of quick reflexes. The feeling of watching the other person's movements in slow motion while you're moving in fast forward is simply wonderful. No wonder Orochimaru and Danzo Shimura were so obsessed with the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. Under these changes, Gojo Yoru's training in ninjutsu and chakra control became much more efficient. That's why he became arrogant. In just 6 months, Gojo Yoru's body flicker technique has improved by an astonishing amount. Just like a half-finished Rasen Shuriken, once infused with Sage Chakra, it can be thrown immediately. While Gojo Yoru is still unable to fuse ordinary chakra and spacetime chakra to perform the 5 elements escape technique, he can fuse them to perform the body flicker technique. The body flicker technique, combined with spacetime chakra, not only increases speed dramatically but also makes one appear like a silent ghost. When Gojo Yoru is able to cover his entire body with spacetime chakra during a mobile battle, he will be able to merge with space, his body flickering will no longer be hindered, and he will be able to pass through all obstacles, making him even more ghostly. If we take it a step further, it might not just be a blink of an eye, but a true teleportation. This is also the direction that Gojo Yoru is striving for. After relieving the pain, Gojo Yoru continued to leap through the forest in a flash. It wasn't until the sun set and the afterglow could no longer penetrate the leaves that Gojo Yoru returned home in a flash. After dinner, Gojo Yoru entered the basement, which was covered in incantations and was probably used to isolate perception and clairvoyance. However, he did not come to modify or supplement the game guide. Instead, he formed hand seals and mobilized the space-time chakra within his body. The next second, Gojo Yoru's figure slowly sank into the ground, quietly leaving Konoha. Gojo Yoru didn't know if Hiruzen Sarutobi had mastered the crystal telescope technique, or if it might happen to scan his area. It's unclear whether, as a commoner genius or an orphan who lost both parents, he has already attracted the attention of Danzo Shimura. Just in case, Gojo Yoru never trains advanced ninjutsu other than body flicker technique and C-rank 5 elements escape technique at home or in the village. It wasn't that I was afraid of being targeted by them, but rather that I was worried they might take a liking to my talent and force Gojo Yoru to graduate early. After all, Itachi Uchiha used the shadow clone technique in his first year, and the school teachers thought there was nothing left to teach him, so they helped him apply for early graduation. Perhaps this is also the reason why the Uchiha clan was wiped out. A 6-year-old child who has not learned any cultural knowledge is allowed to graduate early just because he is too strong. Isn't that just an illiterate person with great power? No wonder he's brainless. Chapter 9. Time is like fine sand in an hourglass, 2 years have slipped away unnoticed. For the past 2 years, the ninja continent has fallen into an eerie calm. High-level commissions arising from frictions between small countries have suddenly decreased significantly. However, due to the gradual economic imbalance, the 4 major ninja villages, whose main business now relies on exploiting small countries and then seeking opportunities to recruit subordinates or expand their territory, have unusually refrained from creating conflicts for them. It's as if they are still licking the wounds left by the First Shinobi World War and recuperating. As the victors of the First Shinobi World War, Konoha and the Land of Fire had already sensed something was amiss and secretly mobilized their spies stationed in various countries to keep a close eye on the major ninja villages for any major moves. Little did they know, the machinations of the 4 great ninja villages had quietly shifted from the ninja continent to overseas. By the time they realize it, they will have lost a powerful ally. March 27, Konoha 33. A place with waterfalls some distance from Konoha. At this moment, on the bank of the pool, there was a white-haired child who was about 1.6 meters tall but had a very tender face. He was holding his right wrist with his left hand and staring intently at his right palm with his icy blue eyes. Above his right palm, a blue energy ball the size of a billiard ball was swirling. This energy sphere is white on the inside and blue on the outside. The white part inside is a high-speed rotating chakra vortex, which is also the core of the energy sphere. This energy ball is very stable overall, resembling a finished ninjutsu. However, the white-haired child was still not satisfied, his expression serious, as if he wanted to add something more. Even though the body wasn't moving, it gave the impression that they were exerting a lot of force. Through his efforts, one wisp of the white core inside the energy sphere, composed of countless chakra vortexes, suddenly turned black. This touch of black is inconspicuous in the overall composition, you might not even notice it if you don't look closely. However, the appearance of this black element disrupted the balance of the energy ball, making it extremely hot to the touch, as if the water inside the balloon had been boiled, and it was about to burst. Without the slightest hesitation, the white-haired child immediately held the energy ball in his hand and pressed it against the mountain wall not far away. With a deafening roar, debris flew everywhere, and dust billowed into the air. When the wind dispersed the dust and mist, a huge depression covered with spiral patterns was revealed on the mountainside. Just by looking at the pattern of this dent, one can imagine that if that energy ball landed on a person, the person would definitely be thrown into the air and sent flying backwards in a high-speed spin. If chakra could enter the body like the gentle fist of the Hyuga clan, it might even shred the internal organs. Without a doubt, this is an extremely powerful high-level ninjutsu, and it is also a rare ninjutsu without hand seals in the ninja world. However, the white-haired child who mastered this advanced ninjutsu, 9-year-old Gojo Yoru, showed no joy on his face. Instead, he muttered in frustration, "I failed again. Is it that difficult? Your chakra control and form transformation are already sufficient. Perhaps you could work on nature transformation." Who? The sudden sound caused Gojo Yoru's expression to change once again. This area was carefully selected by him, it's a waterfall surrounded by forest. He also laid out a large number of steel wires and bells in the surrounding forest. Touching any one of them would trigger a chain reaction, detonating a deeply hidden explosive tag and creating a loud noise to alert Gojo Yoru. Even if a wild beast accidentally triggers the alarm, Gojo Yoru will end his training for the day. Anyone who can appear here quietly under such circumstances is no ordinary person. As Gojo Yoru prepared to mobilize the space-time chakra within his body, he turned his head to look in the direction from which the sound came. When he saw the person who made the voice, his pupils contracted slightly. Immediately, Gojo Yoru adopted a respectful demeanor, bowed slightly towards the direction from which the voice came, and said, "Lord Orochimaru." On the bank of the pool, a young man wearing a green vest appeared out of nowhere. His signature features include long black hair, pale skin, long, golden pupils, and purple eyeshadow. This young man is Orochimaru, one of the 3 direct disciples of the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, who will be known as one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha in the future. At this time, Orochimaru did not yet possess the sinister and cunning nature he would later develop. Instead, he gave off the same impression as Itachi and Sasuke Uchiha, handsome and aloof. Gojo Yoru was not afraid of Orochimaru at this time. Before he joined forces with Danzo Shimura and before he turned evil, Orochimaru was Hiruzen Sarutobi's best candidate for the 4th Hokage. He was a Konoha ninja who inherited the will of fire, and a reliable partner that Tsunade was willing to entrust her younger brother to. "What's your name? How old are you?" Orochimaru sized up Gojo Yoru across from him, growing more and more astonished with each look. "Looking at it from a distance just now, I thought it was some genin who had come here to practice ninjutsu. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a child who had developed prematurely. His face looked even more youthful than rope trees, could he not even be in 5th grade yet?" Gojo Yoru, unaware of Orochimaru's thoughts, truthfully replied, "My name is Gojo Yoru, and I am 9 years old." "Gojo?" Orochimaru raised an eyebrow and asked, "Who are Gojo Heiate and Gojo Mio to you?" "They are my father and mother." Orochimaru thought to himself, as expected, but on the surface he praised softly, "Your parents are heroes, and you are a genius. That ninjutsu you just used was beautiful and very impressive. Lord Orochimaru, you flatter me." Gojo Yoru said modestly, but inwardly he breathed a sigh of relief. The parents of a Jonin truly possess an invisible network of connections. Why didn't you cultivate in the village, but instead came all the way here? Upon learning that Gojo Yoru was a descendant of an acquaintance, Orochimaru became even more curious about him. He came here because he accidentally discovered a large number of steel wires and some explosive tags on his way back. He couldn't help but use Earth Release type body flicker to come and investigate. As a result, he unexpectedly saw Gojo Yoru practicing Raise Nan. Early physical development means that one's physical and mental energy is extraordinary. The chakra control and shape transformation contained in that ninjutsu make it at least B rank difficult to master, and it's very likely even A rank, because Orochimaru suspects that Gojo Yoru just tried to inject nature transformation into it. The combination of top-level form changes and property changes is what constitutes an S-level profound technique. Having mastered such a difficult ninjutsu at the age of 9, Gojo Yoru is fully qualified to graduate early. Many Chunin, and even special Jonin, do not possess such a trump card. He has such talent but doesn't show it, and even came here to cultivate. Does he want to hide his strength? Chapter 10. Gojo Yoru was already mentally prepared for the question regarding Orochimaru. The moment he saw the Raise Nan, Gojo Yoru knew that a test was inevitable. Organizing her thoughts, Gojo Yoru stared directly at Orochimaru. A ninja's battle is a battle of information. I don't want others to know my trump cards, and I don't want to graduate early. I still want to learn more at school. Orochimaru was taken aback when he saw Gojo Yoru's serious expression. Clearly, he hadn't expected Gojo Yoru to give such a reply. After regaining his senses, Orochimaru looked at Gojo Yoru with eyes full of admiration. It seems that this child is not only physically precocious, but also mentally precocious. While other children were playing ninja games, and even geniuses couldn't resist the temptation to graduate early and become ninjas, he was hiding his strength and accumulating knowledge. So, what caused him to have such a change of mind? Without a doubt, it must be news of the deaths of the Gojo couple. At that moment, Orochimaru seemed to see his own reflection in Gojo Yoru. He also underwent a tremendous change after the death of both his parents. Therefore, Orochimaru was able to understand Gojo Yoru's feelings. Only by concealing powerful trump cards can one create miracles in desperate situations and turn a hopeless situation into a chance for survival. He wasn't afraid of becoming a ninja and seeing blood early, rather, he wanted to become stronger and acquire more knowledge to deal with any unexpected events that might occur at any time, so that he and his companions wouldn't follow in their parents' footsteps. Thinking of this, Orochimaru's fondness for Gojo Yoru surged. On the surface, he gave it great praise, great idea. As expected of Sa and Myo's son, they would be very comforted if they could see you like this in the Pure Land. I believe that in the future, you will definitely surpass them and become one of Konoha's ace fighters. Before Gojo Yoru could respond modestly, Orochimaru continued, was that ninjutsu you just now a gift from Hayate? No, the Raise Nan is a ninjutsu I developed myself. Gojo Yoru shook his head. Raise Nan? That's a nice name. Orochimaru's lips curled up slightly, as if he had just expected this. With the power of that ninjutsu, if it had been developed by Gojo Hayate or inherited by the Gojo family, it would have been famous throughout Konoha and the ninja world long ago. At the same time, I couldn't help but click my tongue slightly in amazement. To develop ninjutsu at such a young age that requires at least B-rank training difficulty, that's truly dazzling talent. On the surface, Orochimaru said nonchalantly, that ninjutsu is very powerful. Its shape transformation and chakra control are both top-notch. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a non-attribute, no seal ninjutsu, right? Were you trying to inject a nature transformation into it, but you failed? As expected of Lord Orochimaru. Gojo Yoru stared wide-eyed at Orochimaru with a look of shock. Immediately, he looked at Orochimaru with feigned anticipation, his gaze filled with fervor. Orochimaru's lips curled slightly, and then he raised his right hand. A small white snake had somehow become coiled around his wrist. The little snake opened its mouth and spat out a red scroll that was completely disproportionate to its size. Orochimaru tossed the scroll to Gojo Yoru, saying, "This is my understanding of nature transformation over the years. I don't need it anymore, so I'll give it to you." Upon hearing this, Gojo Yoru's hand, which had just received the scroll, trembled slightly. Then his eyes lit up, and he revealed a look of ecstatic joy, bowing deeply to Orochimaru at a 90-degree angle. "Thank you, Orochimaru-sensei." Orochimaru, who had taken in every change in his expression, did not correct Gojo Yoru's form of address, but simply left behind a hopeful remark. "I hope that when we meet again, your growth will surprise me greatly." After saying that, Orochimaru vanished in a blur. A dozen seconds after Orochimaru left, Gojo Yoru straightened up, looking at the scroll in his hand with a look of joy in his eyes. "This is such a pleasant surprise." This surprise wasn't from Orochimaru's gift of a nature transformation scroll, but rather from the fact that the other party hadn't rejected his increasingly presumptuous way of addressing him. Gojo Yoru originally thought that the first Sannin he would encounter would be Tsunade, whom he met through Kushina Uzumaki in his strategy, or Jiraiya, whom he met through Minato Namikaze. Unexpectedly, the first Sannin he encountered and came into contact with was Orochimaru. Moreover, this legendary ninja, whose talent and wit are second only to Tobirama Senju, who survived from the early days of the original story to Boruto, and who not only survived but also made a name for himself with his technology, seems to have a great liking for him and admires him very much. If that's the case, then Gojo Yoru might not need to rely on Kushina Uzumaki to curry favor with Tsunade. If he can get close to Orochimaru, he can not only gain access to Orochimaru's resources and connections, but also sign a contract with Ryokai Cave to obtain Ryokai Cave's Sage Mode. Once Sage Mode is mastered, Gojo Yoru's spacetime chakra will transform into spacetime Sage Chakra. At that time, Gojo Yoru couldn't even imagine how strong he was. With this in mind, Gojo Yoru began to empathize with and analyze Orochimaru's gift and tacit approval. Orochimaru didn't reject his increasingly presumptuous title, which must be because of his talent. Before awakening his space-time abilities, Gojo Yoru's original plan was to use the Raise Nan to shock Konoha, so that the higher UPS would tacitly approve his friendship with Kushina Uzumaki and invest in him. Developing an A-rank, unsealed ninjutsu at the age of 9 is truly terrifying. Such talent cannot be ignored by anyone. Especially a powerful figure like Orochimaru. With top-tier chakra control and form transformation, and once nature transformation is also improved, Gojo Yoru's Raise Nan can be perfected into an ultimate S-rank ninjutsu. S-rank ninjutsu is the highest level ninjutsu in the ninja world. It is a secret technique that no matter how much effort you put in, you may not be able to learn it, and even the Sharingan cannot copy it. Even in the 5 great ninja villages, this kind of ninjutsu would be listed in the Book of Seals or stored in the Forbidden Techniques library as a forbidden technique and a trump card. A ninja who masters this level of ninjutsu possesses the strength to threaten a cage. Once their overall abilities are improved, they will become the ace fighters of the 5 great ninja villages, commonly known as elite jonin. These jonin, also known as Hokage candidates, can issue A-rank missions to any ninja in the village in times of emergency. When the 5 Kage sacrifice themselves or abdicate, they are all eligible to run for the 5 Kage position and vote. Orochimaru, that's what he is now. Gojo Yoru also demonstrates the potential to become such a being in the future. Orochimaru, whose dream is still to become the 4th Hokage, needs to build his own team and has powerful and trustworthy subordinates. Gojo Yoru's potential, identity, and current age all perfectly fit this description. This scroll, along with the fact that he didn't refuse Gojo Yoru's title, represents Orochimaru's investment in and expectations of him. As long as Gojo Yoru continues to demonstrate his potential, Orochimaru will increase his investment and use the privileges of a Hokage disciple to train him, even if he doesn't take him as a disciple. Having traveled through time, Gojo Yoru has finally found the powerful backer he has always dreamed of. Chapter 11. As night fell, Gojo Yoru returned home and opened the scroll that Orochimaru had given him. The dense text came into view, and after only a few glances, Gojo Yoru clicked his tongue in amazement. As expected of Lord Orochimaru, he's just as generous as in the original work. Gojo Yoru is not lacking in cultivation methods that involve nature transformation. His father was an all-around jonin, and the basic requirement to become such a jonin is to master at least 2 nature transformations. Moreover, having a surname indicates that one's ancestors were once glorious. The scrolls in the basement of the Gojo family's house contain 4 different cultivation methods with varying properties. However, these cultivation methods are all very common. The scroll in Gojo Yoru's hand contains Orochimaru's understanding of nature transformation. As a rare all-elemental genius in the ninja world, the scroll given by Orochimaru not only recorded the nature changes of the 5 elements, but also the understanding of the 2 hidden attributes, yin and yang. Hidden attributes are those that even chakra test strips cannot detect. However, Gojo Yoru knew that he also possessed yin and yang attributes. His development is very abnormal, his strong vitality and chakra are both related to the yang attribute. With his powerful soul, he mastered the art of perception and a C-rank illusion at the end of last year. In addition to the fire and earth elements detected by the chakra test strips, Gojo Yoru's attributes should be 4, yin, yang, fire, and earth. However, Gojo Yoru had absolutely no clue how to develop these 2 hidden attributes. This kind of knowledge is an important legacy held by the village's high-ranking officials and secret ninja clans. And now, this kind of knowledge has actually appeared on the scroll that Orochimaru gave him. That's why Gojo Yoru felt so emotional. This kind of knowledge might be of great help to him in mastering spacetime chakra. After all, yang release represents the physical body, while yin release represents the spirit. With the help of the Raise Nan, Gojo Yoru's chakra control has reached a certain level. To take it a step further, he will need the help of yang release knowledge or medical ninjutsu. Only by perfectly controlling the flow, release, and transformation of chakra in every meridian and a cup ointment, like the Senju clan's Mighty Fist, the Hyuga clan's Gentle Fist, and the Akimichi clan's Multiplying Technique, can Gojo Yoru further master spacetime chakra and fuse ordinary chakra with spacetime chakra in a certain proportion to perform techniques. If successful, it can both add a spacetime buff to ordinary ninjutsu and reduce the consumption of spacetime chakra. When Gojo Yoru uses ordinary chakra in battle, he is just an ordinary ninja. Only when he uses spacetime chakra does he possess terrifying combat power capable of challenging opponents of higher levels. At that time, the Raise Nan might be able to truly be infused with spacetime chakra, becoming a unique Raise Nan technique that didn't appear in the original work. Thinking of this, Gojo Yoru immediately used the shadow clone technique, which he had mastered last year, to create 2 shadow clones to read the scroll with him and learn at an accelerated pace. Just as Gojo was frantically absorbing new knowledge. Inside an izakaya, Japanese pub, in the central street of Konoha. Orochimaru, it's so hard to see you these days. If you want to see me, you can go to Sarutobi-sensei and ask him to transfer you to the border. I believe he will be very happy. Haha, never mind then. My dream isn't to become Hokage. I don't need so many achievements to run for the position. This kind of life of just eating and waiting to die is more comfortable. I think you just don't want to leave someone. Cough cough. The sounds of clinking glasses and playful banter echoed from behind the Norin curtain. The future legendary Sunin of Konoha are having a class reunion. At this time, they were in their prime, full of vigor and high spirits. Tsunade, who is still single, is beautiful and charming. The way she rests her cheek on one hand and shakes the sake bottle with the other hand shows her heroic and dashing demeanor. Looking at the two who hadn't changed since childhood and started bickering at the slightest disagreement, Tsunade smiled without saying a word. Tsunade didn't care at all that Orochimaru was teasing her and helping Jiraiya, causing the guy to choke on sake and look red-faced and a little shy. Tsunade was well aware of Jiraiya's feelings for her, and had said more than once that he was not her type. The relationship between the three of them will not be strained by romantic love. Tsunade clinked glasses with Orochimaru and changed the subject, asking, "How many days will you be staying this time?" Upon hearing this, Orochimaru's slightly upturned lips suddenly disappeared, and he shook his head with a serious expression, saying, "I don't know. The border has been very quiet recently. Those major powers have all stopped their actions at the same time. I wonder if they have secretly joined forces or are plotting something. It's probably unlikely. Unless they're willing to put aside their hatred, it's impossible for the four countries to unite like they did during the last Shinobi World War. Perhaps they have all given up on expansion. After all, their countries' economies simply cannot support such a huge amount of consumption. I hope so." Orochimaru took a breath and said with a deep look in his eyes, "It's just that the atmosphere made me feel very uncomfortable. You've been staying at the border for too long, it's got a mental problem. Let Tsunade prescribe some medicine for you." Jiraiya teased first, then, noticing the change in atmosphere, he changed the subject, saying excitedly, "Speaking of which, I recently discovered a very promising talent at the Ninja Academy. He only entered his 4th year in April, but he already has the ability to graduate early, and the talent he's shown, I feel, is no less than ours." "What, you lazybones, you want to become a Jonin instructor?" Tsunade couldn't help but mock, but at the same time, a thought struck her, and she looked at Orochimaru again, about to say something. Orochimaru suddenly looked up at Jiraiya and asked, "What's his name?" "Namikaze Minato, what's wrong?" Jiraiya was startled by Orochimaru's gaze and asked nervously, "Could it be that he's one of yours, or that you've already set your sights on him? If that's the case, then it would be awkward." Upon hearing that it wasn't Gojo Yoru, Orochimaru reverted to his original form and chuckled, "I have indeed taken a liking to a promising talent. He's only 9 years old this year. If they both started school at 6, they might even be in the same grade, or even classmates." "Oh!" Jiraiya and Tsunade immediately became interested. Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief and asked with great curiosity, "For you to choose him, his talent must be quite good. Is he a descendant of one of the great ninja clans?" "No, and you know his parents too." Orochimaru shook his head and said, "He is the son of Gojo Heiate and Gojo Mio." As if remembering something, Tsunade asked with a look of sympathy, "Is she one of the orphans of that great mission?" The first Hokage distributed the tailed beasts as a trump card to keep each other in check, but those ninja villages actually sent Jinchuriki out on missions. "They deserve to die," Jiraiya said angrily. "Life is sometimes so fragile. Since you've become a ninja, you have to be prepared for unexpected events at any time," Orochimaru said quietly. "Stop talking, let's drink." Sensing the change in atmosphere, Tsunade promptly raised her glass to interrupt, thus dispelling the thought that had just arisen. Originally, she wanted Orochimaru to take Nawaki as his disciple, but since he already had someone he liked, who was also her younger brother's junior, there was no need to trouble him. "I should go back and discuss it with my grandmother, and see if I can arrange for someone from my clan who has abandoned their surname and integrated into Konoha to become a Jonin instructor for Nawaki." Chapter 12. April 1st, Konoha 33. The Ninja Academy has started a new school year. The graduating 6th graders and the 1st graders who have moved up to the next class have vacated classrooms, saying goodbye to a group of familiar faces and welcoming a group of unfamiliar faces. Before anyone knew it, the Crown Prince of Konoha had gone from a freshman to a graduate. Next March, this highly anticipated grandson of the Hokage, who carries the glory of the Senju clan, will become a full-fledged ninja. Yoru Gojo, who is already a 4th-year student, is very interested in this grandson of the Hokage. The reason he pays so much attention to Rope Tree is because it represents an anchor point. This was Tsunade's younger brother, the grandson of the first Hokage, who died at the age of 12. His death occurred during the Second Shinobi World War. This means that if the Butterfly Storm had not occurred, the Second Shinobi World War would have broken out when Awake was 12 years old. That is, Konoha year 35. Gojo has 2, at most 3, years of development time left. If Konoha's firepower is insufficient, this generation could be sent to the battlefield at any time. In special circumstances, these genin might be led by Jonin or Chunin to participate in a battle like the Konobe Bridge incident during the Third Shinobi World War. You might encounter an enemy of Chunin or Jonin level at any time. Before the Second Shinobi World War breaks out, Gojo Yoru must have the strength to deal with those hypothetical scenarios and hypothetical enemies. He walked into the school with his hands in his pockets. Apart from the first-year students, the Ninja Academy students stopped and gave him a wide berth, just like they had done years before. They didn't even dare to look Gojo Yoru in the eye, for fear of provoking this infamous Demon King. But no one knew that this great Demon King was just a shadow clone. Back in the previous year, aside from practical training, Gojo Yoru hadn't been to the Ninja Academy at all. If it weren't for the possibility of being matched against Minato Namikaze, whose shadow clones would be destroyed and expose his true strength, Gojo Yoru wouldn't even want to come to the Ninja Academy. May 17th. A piece of news shocked the entire ninja world. For 1,000 years during the Warring States period, the Senju clan, a distant relative of the Senju clan, whose sealing techniques were feared throughout the ninja world, and who was also a powerful force of the Senju clan, along with the land of whirlpools and the hidden village of whirlpools they established overseas, have actually perished. The land of fire, an ally of the land of whirlpools, didn't even have time to react. Because the invaders of the land of whirlpools were not the surrounding small overseas countries, nor the small countries of the ninja continent, but the 4 major countries excluding the land of fire. Unlike Konoha, which was composed of powerful ninja clans from various warring states periods, Uzushiagaku consisted only of members of the Uzumaki clan, along with some people from other regions. They do not have the fighting ability to take on 4 opponents at once. Faced with the encirclement and suppression of the 4 major ninja villages, they were completely powerless to resist. Everyone on the island, whether they were members of the Uzumaki clan or outsiders, was ruthlessly slaughtered. Their bodies were either burned or buried by ninjutsu, or packed up and taken away for research. Very few members survived. Those who escaped this calamity were actually the female members of the clan who had married into other families and abandoned their original surnames. Fortunately, as an ally of Uzushiagaku, Konoha has always maintained ninja presence in Uzushiagaku. At the urging of the Uzumaki village leadership, the Konoha ninja took the hope of the Uzumaki clan and escorted them back to Konoha. By the time Konoha's reinforcements arrived in the land of whirlpools, the massacre was already over, and the island was a scene of devastation, littered with corpses. When this news reached Konoha, no one knew what the higher UPS reaction was. However, Gojo noticed that it was rare to see a ninja wearing a green vest on the street lately. Aside from the patrolling ninjas at night, it's rare to see after images flying above the rooftops. Clearly, these high-ranking ninjas have all been dispatched. As for what she went out to do, Gojo Yoru didn't know, but it was possible to guess. They were either on some mission or guarding the border. The destruction of the land of whirlpools was tantamount to a countdown to war. Previously, the 4 great nations that were exploiting the vampire kingdom and expanding their territories have now received the millennium-old inheritance of the Uzumaki clan, resulting in a surge in their strength. They certainly won't stop there, they'll only intensify their actions. One more spark and the entire ninja world will be ignited. As the Uzumaki clan faded into the dust of history, Gojo Yoru, who had waited for many years, finally arrived in Konoha. From the second day onwards, Gojo Yoru went to the Ninja Academy in his true form, whether for academic or practical lessons, waiting for that figure to appear. As a result, this wait lasted until the second semester, which started in September. Clearly, the destruction of the land of whirlpools was a huge blow to Kushina Uzumaki. If it weren't for the comfort of the legendary clanswoman Mito Uzumaki, Kushina Uzumaki might have turned to the dark side like Sasuke Uchiha, living in hatred and becoming a vengeful person. However, the simple-minded Kushina Uzumaki was unaware that she was being brainwashed by love and being used as a vessel by the village's higher ups. If no one pulls her out of the fire, then once Mito Uzumaki, who was her protector, dies, her future life will be spent under surveillance. The area where she could move was always fixed within a designated range. Only when the village faced a crisis and needed to use the power of a Jinchuriki could Kushina Uzumaki leave Konoha. Tisk tisk. It really is a conspiracy theory. Politicians are indeed all black-hearted. On the Hokage rock, Gojo Yoru sat on the cliff edge, looking down at the beautiful village with a mocking gaze. At this moment, Gojo Yoru finally understood the feelings of a Jinchuriki. No wonder those Jinchuriki are all psychologically twisted, even the younger brothers of the 5 Kage cannot integrate into the village. The actions of these high-ranking members of the ninja village were far too extreme, and anyone would feel disheartened by them. Gojo Yoru was already curious as to why Konoha at this time of time did not have the barriers of later generations, and thought that they had not yet obtained or developed them. Unexpectedly, Konoha's barrier was actually created because of Kushina Uzumaki. Although it hasn't yet enveloped the entire village, Gojo Yoru, who frequently uses spacetime abilities to escape Konoha, now has eyes that resemble the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, as if he can see a vortex-shaped barrier enveloping the entire central town of Konoha. Gojo Yoru was no stranger to this barrier. It was the same barrier that Konoha used to monitor Kushina Uzumaki in the Minato Chronicles. He hadn't expected the barrier to appear so quickly. That's why Gojo Yoru sighed like that. The chapter in the original work where Kushina Uzumaki is rescued by Minato Namikaze has always been criticized and has been the subject of conspiracy theories. The reason is that Kushina Uzumaki, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, was so easily kidnapped by the Cloud Ninja, who even left the border on foot. Throughout the entire process, the huge mansion was completely deserted. The Cloud Ninja accurately located Kushina Uzumaki and left without being discovered by patrolling ninjas. There was no ANBU monitoring or protecting Kushina Uzumaki, who had become a Jinchuriki. Konoha also seemed to have no barrier. Only Minato Namikaze, who happened to be wandering outside that night, followed the clues left by Kushina Uzumaki. Kushina Uzumaki, who was rescued by a hero, finally formed a bond with Konoha and was willing to live in the village. In retrospect, this was indeed a scheme orchestrated by higher ups. Moreover, this method is exactly the same as when Hiruzen Sarutobi used Mizuki to set up a scheme at the beginning of the story, which deepened the bond between Iruka Umino and Naruto Uzumaki. Clearly, the person behind the scenes was the third Hokage. This discovery, while ironic for Gojo Yoru, also brought him complete relief. Minato Namikaze was able to become a pawn in that scheme because of his affection for Kushina Uzumaki, his powerful talent, and his status as Jiraiya's disciple. Now, with Orochimaru's investment, Gojo Yoru, who is equally talented, also has the potential to become that pawn. With several years of build-up and the deliberate creation of an unsociable character, Gojo Yoru and Uzumaki Kushina develop feelings for each other, which is equivalent to mutual redemption. I believe Hiruzen Sarutobi would be even more pleased to see this. It's all set. Now it's time to put on a show. Gojo Yoru's lips curled into a slight smile, then he stood up and vanished in an instant. Chapter 13. September 11th, morning. Two figures, one tall and one short, suddenly appeared at the door of Class 1, Grade 4, which was in the middle of class. Yu, who was giving the lecture, walked over, and after a brief exchange, he led the short figure to the podium. In an instant, all eyes in the class were focused on that short figure. One of the children's eyes lit up slightly, it was Minato Namikaze. As for the others, their attention was mostly focused on Kushina's hair, filled with curiosity. After all, red hair is a very rare hair color in the ninja world. With Mito Uzumaki's red hair fading, it's even rarer to see a red-haired person in Konoha. Kushina Uzumaki, who was being scrutinized by the entire class, looked timid, her eyes darting away, and she dared not meet anyone's gaze. Seemingly noticing her timidity, Yu patted her on the shoulder and then introduced her to the whole class. This is the student who officially transfers to our school today. Before she could finish speaking, Kushina Uzumaki, who had been looking timid, seemed to have mustered her courage and suddenly raised her head, closed her eyes, and shouted, "I am Kushina Uzumaki." Whether it was because she had been looking down the whole time or because of her accent, Kushina Uzumaki's self-introduction sounded a bit shrill. Kushina Uzumaki blushed and covered her mouth as soon as she called out her own name. Her voice caused the whole class to burst into laughter. "Look at that hair color, it's unbelievable. How did I become so famous? It's really strange. With a chubby round face and red hair, this guy really looks like a tomato. This is the first time I've seen hair like this." Judging from her accent, she might be from another village. "Hey? No way, I don't want to go to class with people from other villages. I'll be laughed at by the other classes." The whispers and mocking voices from her classmates deeply wounded Kushina's pride. Kushina Uzumaki, who originally wanted to get along well with her classmates, immediately had a stress reaction and was about to say something grand and ambitious, not wanting everyone to look down on her. A single sound instantly silenced the entire classroom. "It's so noisy." The seemingly casual words sent a chill down the spines of the students who had been speaking loudly. They all shuddered and almost instinctively shut their mouths, lowered their heads, and tried to make themselves as inconspicuous as possible. This scene also extinguished the anger in Kushina's heart, causing her to subconsciously look towards the direction from which the sound came. In the last row of the classroom, Gojo Yoru, who occupied a desk all to himself, was resting his face on one hand and holding a pencil in the other. As if disturbed while doing his work, he looked up and glanced at the back of the classroom. His beautiful, icy blue eyes met Kushina Uzumaki's dark blue eyes. A few seconds later, Gojo Yoru withdrew his gaze, lowered his head and said calmly, "Sit here with me." Yuya's eyes lit up, and he smiled at Kushina Uzumaki. "Kushina, you can sit next to Yoru Gojo. He's the top student in the 4th year. If you have any questions, you can ask him directly." After saying that, Yuya turned to Gojo Yoru and said, "Gojo Yoru, take care of your desk mate." Knowing full well that Gojo Yoru was just a quirky guy, Yuya felt comfortable letting the two of them become desk mates. However, the classmates who didn't know Gojo Yoru's true personality looked at Uzumaki Kushina with pity. Being classmates with the big devil is such a pitiful thing. I understand." At this moment, Kushina Uzumaki was also filled with curiosity about Yoru Gojo, who had stood up for her. Upon hearing Yuya-sensei's arrangement, she immediately responded and then jogged over to sit down next to Gojo Yoru. During this time, Kushina Uzumaki did not notice that a gaze was following her, full of gentleness, and also unusually mixed with a hint of regret. Sitting next to Gojo Yoru, Uzumaki Kushina immediately and politely introduced herself again. Hello, I'm Uzumaki Kushina." The expected response did not come. Gojo Yoru merely glanced at her, then pointed to the neatly stacked books beside her with her pen. "These are my notes from last semester. If you want to see them, look them up yourself." After saying that, he ignored Kushina Uzumaki. "It's so cold." Kushina Uzumaki, who was staring at Gojo Yoru up close, finally understood the reactions of those guys. White hair and eyebrows, and those eyes alone are cold enough. That look and that voice were incredibly intimidating. If it weren't for Yuya-sensei saying he was the top student, Kushina Uzumaki would have thought Yoru Gojo was a delinquent in the class. However, at the same time, Kushina Uzumaki's curiosity about Yoru Gojo deepened. The way this guy looked was a stark contrast to the way he had helped him earlier. A cool and aloof personality coupled with heartwarming actions, it's clear she has a story to tell. Moreover, the mockery from her classmates earlier made Kushina Uzumaki only feel affection for Yoru Gojo, and she wanted to get to know her deskmate even more. However, Kushina Uzumaki couldn't find any topics to talk about, so she could only sit quietly to the side. Since she was in the last row and her classmates all had their backs to her, Kushina Uzumaki dared to look them over. The next second, Kushina Uzumaki met someone's gaze. With everyone else having their backs to him, that gaze that turned and secretly looked at him was far too conspicuous. Kushina Uzumaki, unaware whether the other party had just mocked her, simply glared fiercely at them. Minato Namikaze was startled by Kushina Uzumaki's gaze and looked away. On the surface, Gojo Yoru was engrossed in doing her homework, but in reality, she was keeping a close eye on Kushina Uzumaki. Upon seeing this scene, she almost burst out laughing, completely ruining her persona. A minotaur who knows the plot inside and out is invincible. Having interrupted their shared dream, Minato Namikaze's hopes of attracting Kushina Uzumaki's attention again are likely dashed. After all, during his time at the Ninja Academy in the original story, he had almost no interaction with Kushina Uzumaki. He only dared to hide in the shadows and watch her closely, just like a male version of Hinata Hyuga. After being discovered by Kushina Uzumaki, he was accused of gloating and making a fool of himself. If it weren't for Minato's heroic rescue during the Cloud Ninja incident, it's unknown how long it would have taken for Kushina Uzumaki to change her opinion of him. Now that Gojo Yoru, the Minotaur warrior who understands Kushina Uzumaki's personality, is here, when he finally musters the courage to approach her, he'll likely be met with a warning from the Anbu. While writing reading comprehension exercises in the book, Gojo Yoru was thinking to himself about how to get along with Uzumaki Kushina and how to quickly gain her favor without arousing suspicion from the higher UPS. Gojo Yoru was unaware that someone was also watching him diligently taking notes. In the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi, still a ninja hero at the time, had developed a habit of smoking a pipe and was puffing away. Using the crystal vision technique, Hiruzen Sarutobi witnessed the entire process of Kushina Uzumaki entering Class 1 of the 4th year. Staring at Yoru Gojo inside the crystal ball, his eyes narrowed slightly beneath the smoke, and he murmured, "Hey 8 and Myo's child." Chapter 14. Ring ring ring. The school bell rang, signaling the end of the morning session. Gojo Yoru got up and walked out of the classroom through the back door. Kushina Uzumaki, who had already received the books and was copying down 5 night notes, immediately got up and followed upon seeing this. Kushina Uzumaki's little mouth never closed the entire way. What did she see? Wherever the 5 night roads passed, both boys and girls stopped and made way for them. Some of the boys who were closer even turned to face the wall, afraid that their eyes would meet Gojo Yoru's. Even so, some male students who met in the hallway still couldn't escape the ordeal. Just because a male classmate was taking up a lot of space when Gojo Yoru passed by that step, Gojo Yoru grabbed his hair and rubbed him against the wall, and he didn't dare to make a sound. When others saw this, they quickly faced the wall and pressed themselves against it, or squatted down and hugged their knees to shrink into a ball, trying to make themselves even less noticeable. Only the female students were not given special treatment by Gojo Yoru. Kushina Uzumaki was dumbfounded as she witnessed Gojo Yoru actively picking a fight with her. She finally understood why everyone in her class was afraid of Gojo Yoru. So this guy really is a delinquent. Why are you following me? As she walked out of the teaching building, Gojo Yoru suddenly stopped, turned around and looked at Uzumaki Kushina, who was secretly following behind her, and frowned slightly. Kushina Uzumaki was startled by Yoru Gojo's gaze and instinctively looked away. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, she bravely looked directly at Gojo Yoru and said confidently, "Teacher Yuya asked you to take care of me, so I want to follow you to learn about the school." After staring at Kushina Uzumaki for a few seconds until she looked guilty and her eyes became evasive again, Gojo Yoru slowly said, if you're afraid of being bullied, just do what I do, beat them into submission, beat them until they're afraid of you. I still need to go on my spiritual practice, I don't have time to take care of you." After saying that, Gojo Yoru walked out of the school. Kushina Uzumaki stared blankly at Yoru Gojo's retreating figure, her confusion instantly dissipating like dark clouds. "I see. No wonder she felt so out of place. It turns out that Gojo Yoru wasn't deliberately picking a fight, rather, if he didn't do it, his maverick nature would lead to him being bullied. Rather than being bullied by others, he should take the initiative to bully others and make everyone afraid of him. Would he help me because he saw his past self in me?" At that moment, Kushina Uzumaki got goosebumps all over her body and felt a thrill of finding a kindred spirit. So, Kushina Uzumaki caught up with Yoru Gojo again and stayed right behind him. As if unaware of Kushina Uzumaki behind him, Gojo Yoru left the school and went to an abandoned training ground in the forest to begin his body flicker technique training. As the whoosh 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 sound of air being cut reached her ears, Kushina Uzumaki was once again dumbfounded. "Before my eyes, a black afterimage appeared, like a pencil scribbling on a training field drawing board, with horizontal lines, diagonal strokes, and crisscrossing black lines. This shows just how fast Gojo Yoru was. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of Gojo Yoru." 5 minutes later, Gojo Yoru, having finished warming up, appeared next to the wooden dummy in the open space. He then rolled up his trouser legs and untied the weight plates strapped to his calves. He threw the weighted iron plate aside, and whether it was intentional or coincidental, it just happened to hit the wooden dummy not far away. The next second, the wooden dummy shattered as if it had been struck by a wild boar. After bouncing around a few times, Gojo Yoru vanished again, leaving only a blur. This time, there were no more crisscrossing black lines on the training field. Without using perception techniques, only those with exceptional eyesight could barely catch a blurry afterimage. Even more incredibly, the afterimages would swirl up fallen leaves and create a piercing sound as they cut through the air. Now, the flickering of this afterimage made no sound at all, just like the appearance of a ghost. Such a teleportation technique is unbelievable. Is he really just a fourth-year student? These words did not come from Kushina Uzumaki. At this moment, the girl was completely stunned and speechless with shock. The person who said this was a member of the Dark Guard who was hiding in the forest, using invisibility magic to conceal himself, and was responsible for secretly monitoring and protecting Kushina Uzumaki. As a special unit directly under the Hokage, every member of the Anbu is not best at ninjutsu, but at assassination and reconnaissance. One of their specialties is the ability to teleport. Every member of the Dark Division has mastered the basic body flicker technique to a high level, and has incorporated the 5 elements attributes to develop 5 elements-based body flicker techniques or high-speed movement techniques based on physical skills. They believed that ordinary teleportation techniques had reached their limit at their level. But now, he saw a more advanced Konoha body flicker technique in a child much younger than himself, a technique that even they couldn't achieve. That ghostly speed and silent footwork demonstrated powerful chakra control and reaction speed. A genius of the body flicker type. Both the member of the ANBU and Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was still observing Gojo Yoru, couldn't help but mutter to themselves. Gojo Yoru did not discover the hidden secrets in the shadows. But he could guess that he might have already caught Hiruzen Sarutobi's eye. Today is Kushina Uzumaki's first day at school, and Hiruzen Sarutobi must be paying close attention. Especially Gojo Yoru, who is now her desk mate, is definitely on her watch list, and may even have already found out all of Gojo Yoru's information. Therefore, Gojo Yoru deliberately brought Kushina Uzumaki here to train during his lunch break, with the aim of showcasing his talent, which was not yet extraordinary. Before the creation of Shisui's body flicker technique, Gojo Yoru's extraordinary ability to perform a normal body flicker technique successfully attracted the attention and respect of Hiruzen Sarutobi, earning him the label of a body flicker technique genius. And this is just the beginning. To gain Hiruzen Sarutobi's tacit approval and investment, Gojo Yoru needs to prepare even more surprises for the third Hokage. After practicing the body flicker technique for another 10 minutes, Gojo Yoru finally stopped. As Gojo Yoru picked up the weighted iron plate and put it on, he looked at Kushina Uzumaki not far away and frowned slightly, saying, "Why did you follow me again?" I. Kushina, her mind still blank, stammered, unable to speak. "Never mind." Gojo Yoru promptly gave her a way out, asking, "Do you know how to fight? Want to be my sparring partner? See, can I?" Kushina's eyes lit up, and she nodded like a chick pecking at rice. "I can fight. I'm really good at fighting." As if to prove herself, Kushina Uzumaki rolled up her sleeves and struck a pose that resembled showing off her muscles, which was incredibly cute. "Then don't cry later." A smile curved Gojo's lips as he charged toward Kushina Uzumaki. Two children, a boy and a girl, started fighting without any regard for gender. "I see." Seeing this through the crystal ball, Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't help but smile, his eyes filled with admiration. "I initially thought Gojo Yoru was a problem child who had lost both parents and had some personality flaws. In retrospect, he was just a good kid who was good at protecting himself, and had a cold exterior but a warm heart." Chapter 15. Ouch, it hurts so much. This was a crushing defeat. Although Kushina Uzumaki is very strong, possessing incredible strength that allows her to swing and smash people her own age, and even capable of killing a formal genin when enraged. But compared to Gojo Yoru, he was still too inexperienced. He possessed superhuman strength but lacked any strategy or method, attacking in a straightforward manner, as if reminding his opponent what he was about to do. Gojo Yoru didn't even need to use speed to overwhelm her or reaction speed to dodge, he simply used the technique of side blocking to deflect all of Kushina Uzumaki's attacks, and then gave the round-faced girl a good beating without any mercy. Soon after, Kushina Uzumaki, with a few bruises on her face but still undeniably adorable, collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. "You're so weak. Didn't you say